Hooray for Hollywood. We are here today at Disney's Hollywood Studios. We're going to be taking a trip to the past. We're going to be discussing weird and wacky entertainment offerings they used to have here when it was Disney MGM and Disney's Hollywood Studios. I'm talking about like Goosebumps, Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Stuff that almost seems like a fever dream when you really think about it. Could you imagine a time when you could come to Disney's Hollywood Studios and meet Tom and Jerry? Well, you could, back in the MGM days. So that's what we're gonna be doing here today. Hi everybody, and welcome to the World of Micah. Let's head inside the park and take a trip around the park and revisit some weird and wacky stuff that used to sit here at the Hollywood that never was and always will be. Now, let's take a closer look. All right, let's head inside the park and match up some photos. Good morning, Bo. Let's go travel to the past. Good to see you as always, friend. Can you believe from 1990 to 1991 they had a Dick Tracy experience here in the Theater of the Stars, which is where Sunset Boulevard currently sits. There's an old theater there, the Theater of the Stars, before it changed its location to where Beauty and the Beast was. They had a little show here on the main streets with Dick Tracy, and they had a stage show as well. And the Hollywood Fashions building right here can be seen in that photograph, as well as what was the great movie ride straight ahead. We're standing right about where Dick Tracy was. And this is what the show in the Theater of the Stars looked like.
I know.
Thank you to burnsland.com for this photo. And that theater used to sit straight ahead right past the Starbucks building. On any given day, you could catch Dick Tracy and Big Boy Caprice and his gang hanging out here on Hollywood Boulevard. And they had a banner right over here long before this was the Trolley Car Cafe and had its makeover. You can see the old banner right here. It says presents Touchtone. Sorry, Touchtone presents Calling Dick Tracy. The banner was there on that building straight ahead. It's pretty cool. Imagine like walking around here and seeing Dick Tracy, a Warren Beatty and Al Pacino look-alike. It'd be awesome. Here's like a first-hand look. All the props, they had like a director and Dick Tracy out here in the crowd gathering. Right out here in this section, looking at the Chinese Theater. Just imagine coming in the park and seeing Dick Tracy like that, like a full, I mean, it wasn't a real production, but just imagine seeing that. That's the one thing I do miss about the old days of this place. Now this sign used to be used for all the promos back in the day when it said the Disney MGM Studios. There's a photograph I'm about to show you guys that has a pretty good cast of characters hanging out in the front, including the Muppets to the left in their human type form with full legs and walking around and really creepy. Roger Rabbit up front, Dick Tracy, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Ewoks, they were all here, and Indiana Jones dangling in front of the sign. Now in 1991 all the way to 1992 they had a little, I guess you could say like a pop-up. It's called Dinosaurs Live, and it was Jim Henson's Dinosaurs right here in Disney's Hollywood Studios, well, Disney MGM Studios at the time, and they would come down with a big float, and the song Everybody Do the Dinosaur would be rocking, and they would pick a random family and be like, hey, guess what? You're the family of the day. And they did some promo photos here in front of the Disney MGM sign. You can see the whole gang out here right in front of that sign, meeting and greeting with the family of the day. It's crazy. They had the whole family here, including baby Sinclair, who would later end up at the old backlot Streets of America during the Osborne Spectacle of Dancing Lights. Every year you could find baby Sinclair in like one of the windows. Now the Hyperion Theater here has seen a lot of changes. When it first opened it was Superstar Television, then later changed into Drew Carey, then went to American Idol. And before all that, from 1999 to 2001, long before this was Frozen, it was Doug. Disney's Doug Live. You could actually meet Doug Funny and Patty Mayonnaise. I'll show you guys what the the Doug sign looked like. Had a little nod to Nickelodeon with some green slime on it. This was also a part of Disney's One Saturday Morning where they had Disney's Doug when it was no longer on the Nickelodeon channel. But right here is the sign. You can see Doug, Patty, and Pork Chop, and the ABC, and the little slime that Doug was, you know, the font was written in. Could you imagine coming to Disney's MGM studios back in the day and meeting Doug Funny and Patty Mayonnaise? Killer tofu, man. And here's a side profile of the sign with ABC and Disney's Doug. That was right here on this side of the Hyperion Theater. Went from Doug Funny to Frozen. And looking back at the former home of the backside of the Streets of America from 1990 to 1995, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were here from 1990 to 1995. They actually had a stage show and a meet and greet where they were riding in the turtle van with April O'Neil doing meet and greets. Now this whole area has changed, but right about here is where April O'Neil and the Turtles were riding down in the turtle van, going to their show and their meet and greet. How sick is that? For 5 years, you could have met the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles here. I actually did a video a long time ago talking about some of the history of this show. Check out that link. See some old school World of Micah. Now we are heading into Galaxy's Edge, former Streets of America. And around in this area here is where the library facade, the public library facade was for Streets of America. And this is also where Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, live in action, 1995 to 1996. So if you came out here during that era, you could have met Ace Ventura. He actually went down the scaffolding on the side of the library and did an interview as Ace Ventura. I believe this was like during the era of the cartoon, the Ace Ventura Pet Detective, the cartoon, which I believe was also on Disney's One Saturday Morning. But right here is the old Streets of America area, and don't worry, Streets of America stuff is coming. But I wanted to pinpoint this show as well as Goosebumps HorrorLand Fright Show. Look at this guide map from 1998. Where they did their show is where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles used to do their show. It was more or less in this general area here from 1997 to 1998. You could have seen the Goosebumps HorrorLand Fright Show. There was a stage right over here against a warehouse that cut back in over towards Toy Story area. It's kind of like in this general area. You can't really get exactly where it was because it's been just completely changed. But I can show you at least what the stage looked like, and you can kind of figure it out when you're over in this area. Right here is the stage. You guys remember that warehouse? This is also where the Muppets had their show, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had their show here. But yeah, you can meet Slappy and the rest of the Goosebumps cast of characters out here. Probably got pretty hot. No coverage, you know, out of the elements. Everybody's just kind of standing around watching the show. Didn't last long, but still, there was a Goosebumps show here at Disney, which is all right to me. But they got rid of Goosebumps and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they got us with these droids. Kind of like a hunk of junk to me. Just kidding. No, the real hunk of junk is right over there. Now, I wanted to mention this as an honorable mention because there's going to be some future episodes pertaining to this, but WCW was actually here at the Disney MGM studios. You could catch the Hulkster here on any given day. In fact, here he is on Streets of America with his vehicle. I think he was the star of the day, which is our next subject. But this photograph was taken right here as well, where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were coming down in their van. Imagine meeting the Hulkster, baby. Man, the Hulkster, 24-inch pythons at Disney's MGM Studios, brother. Where's Mickey Mouse? Yeah, but I don't know, Hulk Hogan. Mickey Mouse has 24-inch ears, which means he could hear you coming a mile away. brother. But anyways, I believe Hulk Hogan was the star of the day, which is something they started from the opening of this park. They had this tradition. Every day they would have a star of the day. Well, not every day, but you kind of get my drift. They would have special events where they would invite a celebrity to come out to Disney MGM Studios and be the star of the day. They would have a big motorcade, ride them down Hollywood Boulevard to the Chinese Theater here, which was the great movie ride at the time, and that's where all of these handprints come from. They would invite these celebrities to come down here, do the handprint ceremony, and you could see from afar and get a photo of one of your favorite celebrities. Actually, in my collection, I have a photograph, a Polaroid of Dick Van Dyke's brother, Jerry Van Dyke, who was here, the star of the day. Some family took it on a Polaroid. I found it at a thrift store, and I've got it forever. So, man, what a time to be alive. You can see anybody here. The very first handprint ceremony that happened here was Annette Funicello, and then Michael J. Fox was the last handprint that happened here at the Disney MGM Studios. Now let's look at some of these handprints, and we'll match up some photos from those days. It's a blurry, terrible photo, but that's Bette Midler and Audrey Hepburn and Betty White, and a few others right here in front of the doors, which was the great movie ride now, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. But right here's where they did that handprint ceremony. Now, one that I really love looking at is John Ritter's. You want to see what his feet look like? That's it. That's exactly how he did this. And if you find his handprint down here, you can match it up. See what I'm saying? Right there. Look at the feet. And that's what it looked like when he did it. He literally contortioned like his feet that way so he could do that pose. I know you are, but what am I? Well, Pee-wee, you're a handprint here at Disney MGM Studios. Ah, your pal, Pee-wee Herman. La, la, la. That's my best Pee-wee Herman impression right there. Even did the bow tie. This was done February 13th, 1989. There he is. Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer. And I love this Dick Van Dyke handprint here. It's not dated, but he took it right here. This was exactly where he was, as you can see in the photograph right here. Woo, it's windy out here. But it still is in the same spot. That photograph was kind of like this. Right there. Dick Van Dyke. Same thing with the Jim Henson handprint here, and Kermit the Frog was here. You can see them right here putting their handprint, Kermit and Jim, with everyone gathered around. Now to get here, they would drive down, starting at the end of the crossroads, and they would drive all the way down here and come around, get out, and they had a big celebration here. A lot of the media was here, and they documented everything. And if you were hanging out at Disney MGM Studios that day, you could have seen one of your favorite celebrities right here at the Chinese Theater. And right here was Michael J. Fox. This is the last handprint that was done here in signature, 5/29/99, 29 days into the month, the anniversary month of Disney MGM Studios. And if you actually look around at a few of the autographs here, they're all from May 1st, which was the anniversary, May 1st, 1989. Now this was the very first handprint ever done at the Star of the Day ceremony. Annette Funicello, May 1st, 1989, opening day of the Disney MGM Studios. Dude, you just won't give up, will you, Hulkster?
No, Micah, I gotta tell you, I got some big beef here, brother. Mickey and the gang better watch out. Hogan's coming through and gonna run wild here at MGM Studios.
And see, this is how they would come around in the vehicle, and they would put their name on the side of the vehicle. This is Howard Duff. And he was right around in this area as he was coming around the turn here in front of the Chinese Theater. Pretty cool, right? Did you guys ever get to see this? And if you did, comment what celebrity you got to see out here. And Star of the Day went from 1989 to 1999. Like I said, the very first was Annette Funicello, and the very last was Michael J. Fox. And here's Harry Anderson doing his handprint ceremony right in this area. You can see the wall behind him, as well as Leonard Nimoy, Spock, live long and prosper, did his handprint out here as well. Now there's one way to see any new celebrities that come here, they always will sign this Hollywood Brown Derby book. This is James Earl Taylor, who used to be here all the time for Star Wars weekends, huge voiceover actor. And then look at this, Bill Justice, who probably was an animator for Chip and Dale. But this book is locked up, but there's so many celebrity signatures here, as you can see. Oh yeah, I wasn't lying. You could meet Tom and Jerry out here back when this was Disney MGM Studios. As you can see them standing in front of the MGM Studios studio backlot sign right here. Isn't that wild? But they were MGM cartoon, so they could have any of those old MGM cartoons out here roaming around. And Tom and Jerry also during this era had their movie that just came out, the Tom and Jerry movie, and it was kind of a small hit. So I can see why they had the characters out here for meet and greets, just kind of promoting that film as well. But you know, with 50 years of Walt Disney World, I'm sure we're gonna see in the next 50 years some really weird and wacky stuff show up in this park, in the other parks, you know? You never know what you're gonna see here in the most magical place on Earth. But this was a lot of fun. Walked around and found some stuff from yesteryear, if you will. But I think we came, we saw, we took care of business here today at Disney's Hollywood Studios. By the way, for those of you who came up and said hello to me today and took a photo with me, it means the world. Always do that. Even if I have a camera in my hand or I'm busy, just come up and say, hey, you ain't gonna bother me. It's a lot of fun to meet people from all over the United States and the world. But like I said, our adventure for today has come to an end, which means it's time to say goodbye. And I will see you guys on the next adventure. Until then, stay weird. Goodbye.